Sheikh Zyan, a powerful and wealthy ruler, lived in a luxurious palace in the desert. Imagine a vast desert filled with golden dunes that seemed to dance under the blazing sun. In the middle of that desert stood a magnificent palace, almost magical, built from shimmering stones that sparkled in the daylight. The palace was so grand, it looked like a small kingdom, filled with lush gardens, crystal fountains, and rooms adorned with gold and precious gems. The owner of this magnificent palace was Sheikh Zyan. He was a man of great power, known for both his wisdom and his wealth. With his majestic turban and luxurious robes, Sheikh Zyan was respected and admired by all. He ruled with justice, ensuring his people had everything they needed, even in such an arid place as the desert. Everyone saw him as a strong and generous leader, capable of facing any challenge that came his way. Now, in that same vast desert, there lived a humble family who faced many hardships. They had few resources and struggled daily to find food and water. Yet, this family was close-knit and full of love even in difficult times. Among them was Latifah, a brave and determined young woman. Knowing they needed help, Latifah's family decided to go to Sheikh Zyan's luxurious palace in hopes of finding work and improving their lives. They walked for long hours under the scorching sun, facing the heat and the sand, until they finally caught sight of the grand palace. Upon arriving, the family felt a bit intimidated by the magnificence of the place. But Latifah, with her courageous spirit, was determined to find a way to help her parents. They believed that if they could find work at the palace, they might have a better and safer life. Latifah's parents were exhausted after the long journey. They were kind people who had worked hard all their lives, but they were now too old to continue. Knowing this, Latifah, with her heart full of love and courage, decided she would do whatever it took to help her family. As Latifah approached the palace, her mother gently took her hand and said, "My dear, we trust you. I know you'll find a way to help us." Her father, with a faint smile, added, "You've always been our light, Latifah. We're so proud of you." Latifah looked at the palace with determination in her eyes and entered full of hope. She asked to speak with someone who could offer her a job. A servant led her to Lady Najla, the palace housekeeper. Lady Najla was an experienced woman, responsible for managing all the household tasks and ensuring that everything in the palace ran perfectly. With a respectful bow, Latifah spoke to Lady Najla. "Excuse me, ma'am. I've come seeking work to help my family. We're going through difficult times, and I'm willing to do anything to provide for them." Lady Najla, impressed by Latifah's humility and determination, replied kindly, "I understand your situation, my dear. We're always in need of good helpers here in the palace. You seem like a hard-working young woman. I'll give you an opportunity." Latifah thanked her gratefully. "Thank you so much, ma'am. I'll do my best not to disappoint you." With a warm smile, Lady Najla reassured her, "Don't worry, my dear. I'm sure you'll be a wonderful addition to our team." After being hired by Lady Najla, Latifah felt a mix of nervousness and gratitude. She was determined to prove her worth and show that she deserved the opportunity. As she began her duties in the palace, Lady Najla approached her with a gentle smile. "Miss Latifah, I'm very happy to have you with us. I know it might seem a bit overwhelming at first, but I'm here to help you with whatever you need." Latifah looked at Lady Najla with gratitude. "Thank you so much, Lady Najla. I'm eager to learn and help however I can," she replied, determined to do her best. Lady Najla placed a caring hand on Latifah's shoulder. "Don't worry, my dear. You have a kind heart and skills that will be very useful here in the palace. I'm confident you'll do very well." With Lady Najla's support, Latifah felt more confident in her abilities and motivated to face whatever challenges lay ahead. She was determined to do her work with excellence and contribute to her family's well-being. As Latifah adapted to her new job at the palace, she occasionally caught sight of Sheikh Zyan from afar. He was an imposing figure with his majestic turban and luxurious garments that gleamed in the sunlight. Latifah felt awe in his presence and admired the noble aura that surrounded him. However, Latifah knew that she and Sheikh Zyan lived in different worlds. She was merely a humble maid, while he was a powerful and wealthy ruler. Latifah admired him from a distance, always humble and respectful, aware of the social barriers that separated them. At night, as she gazed at the desert stars, she dreamed of a world where differences in status didn't matter. She wished she could approach Sheikh Zyan and express her admiration, but she knew that was only a distant dream. Still, she held on to the hope in her heart that one day she might be closer to Sheikh Zyan, even if only in thought.
That brief encounter planted a seed of curiosity and anticipation in Latifah's heart. She could hardly wait to discover what the future might hold for her and the powerful Sheikh Zyan. After that unexpected meeting, Latifah couldn't get Sheikh Zyan out of her mind. She kept remembering the intensity of his gaze, the way he had looked at her with admiration while she worked. Meanwhile, Sheikh Zyan also couldn't forget the young servant who had impressed everyone with her skill and beauty. He had never met anyone like Latifah, someone whose mere presence stirred a storm of emotions within him. The two occasionally crossed paths in the palace corridors, exchanging brief glances and polite greetings. Latifah felt both shy and flattered every time Sheikh Zyan spoke to her, while he found himself fascinated by her gentleness and humility. Those fleeting moments were enough to feed the growing flame of attraction between them. Latifah and Sheikh Zyan were beginning to realize that something special connected them, something that went beyond social barriers and the conventions of their world. As the sun set over the desert, a new love story was about to begin, one that would defy all expectations and traditions. They were ready to see how far this feeling would take them. One afternoon, while Latifah was tending to the palace gardens, Sheikh Zyan approached, drawing her attention. With a friendly smile, he asked, "What is your name, lovely young lady?" Latifah replied nervously, "Latifah, Your Excellency." Sheikh Zyan then said, "Good afternoon, Latifah. I hope you're enjoying your work in the gardens." Latifah, surprised and a bit nervous by the Sheikh's presence, answered with a bow, "Good afternoon, Your Excellency. Yes, the gardens are becoming more beautiful each day." Sheikh Zyan watched her for a moment, his dark eyes filled with curiosity. "You seem so at ease here, Latifah. Tell me, how long have you been working in the palace?" Trying to steady her nerves, Latifah replied sincerely, "Only a few weeks, Your Excellency. It is an honor to serve here." Sheikh Zyan nodded approvingly. "You perform your duties with great skill and grace, Latifah. That is an admirable quality." He then bid her farewell with a kind smile, leaving Latifah with her heart racing and her mind full of questions. As the days passed, these brief encounters between Latifah and Sheikh Zyan became increasingly frequent, fueling the flame of attraction between them. With time, Sheikh Zyan found himself more and more captivated by Latifah's presence. He couldn't get her out of his mind, His thoughts kept drifting to her even during the busiest moments of his day. The conversations they shared, the exchanged smiles, all of it stirred something inside him that he couldn't explain. He admired Latifah's determination and humility. Her beauty and kindness touched his heart in a way he had never experienced before. However, these feelings awakened an inner conflict within Sheikh Zyan. He knew he was falling in love with someone beyond his reach, someone whose social status made any union impossible. He tried to resist these emotions, fighting against the storm of feelings consuming him. But the more he tried to push Latifah from his thoughts, the more present she became in his mind and heart. He realized he could no longer ignore what he felt for her, even if it meant challenging all the social norms and traditions that governed his life. Sheikh Zyan was about to embark on a journey of self-discovery and love, a journey that would change his life forever. While Sheikh Zyan struggled with his feelings, Latifah too was fighting an inner battle. She was fully aware of the barriers between them. He, a powerful ruler, she, a humble servant. She knew that any feeling she nurtured for the sheikh could bring dangerous consequences. Despite her growing attraction to him, Latifah tried to push those emotions away. She reminded herself of her position in the palace, of her responsibilities toward her family. Yet, the more she tried to suppress her feelings, the stronger they seemed to grow, like a flame fed by the wind. One afternoon, while Latifah was tidying up the palace rooms, Lady Najla noticed her distraction and asked gently, "Is something troubling you, Latifah? You seem worried." Latifah hesitated for a moment, unsure whether to share her thoughts, but feeling overwhelmed by the weight of her emotions, she decided to open her heart. "It's Sheikh Zyan," she confessed with a sigh. I have feelings for him, Lady Najla, and it frightens me. If anyone were to find out, I don't know what might happen." Lady Najla listened attentively, her expression softening with understanding. "I understand your fears, my dear," she said kindly. "But remember, love often leads us down unknown paths. If your feelings are true, perhaps it's worth facing those challenges together." Latifah nodded, grateful for Lady Najla's advice. She knew the road ahead would be difficult, but she also knew she couldn't ignore what she felt for Sheikh Zyan. With a resigned sigh, she returned to her work, determined to find a way to handle her emotions without endangering everything she held dear. With Lady Najla temporarily away on an urgent trip, Latifah was assigned to take over her duties in the palace. She was now more involved in palace affairs than ever, coordinating the servants' work, overseeing events, and handling administrative matters. As she took on this new role, Latifah found herself in closer contact with Sheikh Zyan. She saw him more often, sometimes sharing brief moments of conversation during the day. Each encounter made Latifah more aware of her growing feelings for the sheikh, while he seemed increasingly intrigued by her presence and abilities. One sunny morning, as Latifah supervised the preparation for an event at the palace, Sheikh Zyan approached her, catching her attention. "Good morning, Latifah. You seem to be managing everything beautifully," he said with a warm smile.
Latifah, surprised by the sheikh's compliment, replied with a faint blush on her cheeks. "Oh, good morning, Your Excellency. I'm just trying to follow Lady Najla's instructions." Sheikh Zyan tilted his head, observing her with interest. "You're doing an exceptional job. Your dedication and skill are evident in everything you do." Latifah lowered her gaze, feeling flattered by his words. "Thank you very much, Your Excellency. It means a lot to me to hear that." Sheikh Zyan smiled, feeling captivated by Latifah's humility and talent. "You are truly a blessing to this palace, Latifah. I'm grateful to have you here." As their eyes met and smiles were exchanged, a spark of special connection shone between them, feeding the growing attraction they both shared.
One afternoon, while Latifah was busy overseeing the preparations for a royal banquet, a servant approached her with an urgent message from Sheikh Zyan. He was inviting her to his private chambers under the pretext of discussing important details about the event. Curious and a little nervous about the prospect of a private meeting with the Sheikh, Latifah accepted the invitation and followed the servant to Sheikh Zyan's quarters. As she entered the room, Latifah was struck by its beauty and opulence. Sheikh Zyan was there, seated in an armchair with a serious expression on his face. He looked at Latifah intently as she stepped inside. "Please, Latifah, have a seat," said Sheikh Zyan, gesturing to a chair in front of him. "I asked you here because I need to speak with you about something important." Latifah sat down, feeling nervous under the Sheikh's gaze. "Yes, Your Excellency. How may I assist you?" Sheikh Zyan looked at her for a moment before finally speaking. "Latifah, I have been struggling with my feelings for you, and I can no longer deny the attraction I feel." Latifah held her breath, startled by the Sheikh's candor. Her heart began to race as he continued, revealing the deep emotions he had kept hidden for so long. Faced with this unexpected confession, Latifah realized she was not alone in her feelings. She too had been fighting an irresistible attraction to Sheikh Zyan, an attraction destined to defy every social and cultural boundary. Her heart pounded as she met his sincere gaze, seeing the honesty and vulnerability reflected in his eyes. For a long moment, silence hung between them as Latifah struggled to find the right words. At last, she spoke softly. "Your Excellency, I've been battling my own feelings as well, but we live in different worlds. I wish I could be with you openly without fear of what others might say, but I am only a simple servant." Sheikh Zyan interrupted her gently, placing his hands over hers. "Latifah, you are far more than your social standing. Your heart is noble and your virtues are truly admirable. I don't care what others may think. What matters is what we feel for each other." Latifah looked at him, her eyes shining with emotion. She felt overwhelmed by a mix of gratitude and love for this man who saw beyond her status. She knew their path would not be easy, but she was willing to face any challenge if it meant being with him. With a deep sigh of relief, she finally let go of her fears and surrendered to the moment, allowing herself to accept and return Sheikh Zyan's affection. As the relationship between Latifah and Sheikh Zyan became more public, the court began to whisper and gossip about what they saw as an impossible love between a powerful ruler and a humble servant. A court advisor, whose loyalty was questionable and whose own ambitions were at stake, saw an opportunity to undermine their relationship. Through insinuations and slander, the advisor tried to convince Sheikh Zyan that Latifah was unworthy of his position and his love. However, though troubled by the poisonous words, the Sheikh knew the truth within his heart. On a majestic night, under the starry desert sky, Sheikh Zyan summoned a special court assembly. He looked at Latifah with tenderness and resolve, his voice echoing with authority and passion. "My noble subjects, today I stand before you to proclaim a truth that many of you may find unbelievable, but it is a truth that comes from the deepest part of my heart." He turned to Latifah, his eyes glowing with devotion. "Latifah, my beloved, you are the light that guides my path, the strength that inspires me each day. I will not allow anyone or anything to separate us. Therefore, today, Before all of you, I honor you with the title of nobility, raising you to stand by my side as my equal." Latifah, overcome with emotion and gratitude, looked at Sheikh Zyan with tears in her eyes. She knew that this gesture was not only a declaration of love, but also one of equality and justice. As the members of the court erupted into applause, Latifah and Sheikh Zyan exchanged vows beneath the glittering desert stars. It was a moment of pure magic, a symbol of a love that had triumphed over all adversity. And so, the story of Latifah and Sheikh Zyan became a legend, remembered for generations as a testament to the power of true love to transcend all barriers and unite even the most unlikely of hearts, inspiring all who heard it to believe in the strength of love and the courage to overcome any obstacle.